The Slung Shoulder Bag sewing tutorial. Start with finishing off the top of the pocket. Then fold the edge 1 cm over. Stitch about 5 mm from the edge in place. Lay the pocket on top of the main panel and pin in place. Stitch the pocket 5 mm from the edge in place. Fold the pocket paper pattern in half and line it up with the pocket. Mark the middle with chalk and/or pins as a guide. Follow the marked line and sew in place. Fold the zipper tabs in half and pin on either side of the main panel. Sew the zipper tabs in place. Then lay the back main panel on top and sew the zipper tabs in place. Repeat with the lining. This is what it will look like. Pin the zip with the right side facing the right side of the fabric in place. Sew the zip in place. Slide the zip pulley out of the way as needed. Then pin the zip to the other side as well. And sew in place. After sewing the zip in, it will look like this. Flip the bag over and pin the lining with the wrong sides of the fabric together in the seam. Sew the lining in the seam 5 mm from the edge. Slide the zip pulley out of the way as needed. I'm using a piece of cardboard so the fabric won't move, as the lining is more flexible than the main fabric. Now you will pin the other side of the lining into the seam. and sew the lining into the bag as you did before. When you've sewn the lining in, it will look like this. Now you will top stitch around the zip and pin in place. Top stitch about 2 mm from the edge around the zip. Make sure the lining is laying nice and flat underneath. Slide the zip pulley out of the way as needed. Finish one side of the buckle strap off. I used an overlocker, but you can use a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine as well. Press the long sides 1 cm in, fold in half and pin in place. Top stitch the long sides. Slide the buckle onto the buckle strap and sew in place. Use a zip foot to sew the buckle in place. Then it will look like this. Fold one short side and the long sides of the strap 1 cm in, then fold in half and press in place. Top stitch the strap all the way around. I'm using a piece of cardboard to easily sew over the bulk of the corners. Pin the buckle strap and the strap in place. Make sure the lining is out of the way and sew the straps 5 mm from the edge in place. Now get the bottom and pin in place. Put a pin crossways 1 cm from the corners, line the notches up and ease the fabric where needed. Start sewing at the 1 cm pin you marked and sew to the other pin you marked. Then pin the bottom to the other side. Put 2 pins crossways about 10 cm apart to mark where you need to stop and start sewing. Start at the 1 cm pin and sew until the pin's in the middle. Leave the 10 cm gap unsewn and sew until the 1 cm pin on the other side. Sew the corners closed. Sew from seam to seam. Repeat the steps with the main fabric. Make snips all the way around in the seam, only 5 mm deep. Then pin the other side to the bag. Sew it in place. And sew the corners closed, from seam to seam. Make snips around the seam and trim the corners, only 5 mm deep. Then cut triangles in the rounding of the bag to take out the bulk of the fabric. Now you can turn the bag right sides out, through the gap in the lining. Pull the lining out of the bag and pin the gap closed. Fold the unfinished edges 1 cm towards the inside. Sew the gap as close as you can to the edge closed. Press the bag and all the corners. Yay, your bag is all finished! Hope you liked the tutorial and making the bag.